From day one, Donald Trump's administration has careened from chaos to self-induced crises. American families and workers are left guessing whether life-saving services, school lunches, help paying for home heating, basic health care, and public safety are going to be funded day by day. The collective outrage of literally everyone in this country, along with lawsuits filed over its illegal behavior, got Donald Trump's administration to rescind its latest memo to cut off federal money. But the chaos continues. The confusion continues. The federal funding witch hunt continues. The Trump administration has made clear they intend to proceed with their cruel plan of stalling or stopping essential federal funding. They'll lie, disregard Congress, and now they're bypassing the courts. We'll need all of our collective engagement to make sure that Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and their unelected, unqualified henchmen keep our services going and to stop breaking the law. Because the American people are paying the price on a daily basis. The consequences of Trump's federal funding cutoff are already far-reaching and they're devastating. Doctors were told to turn away patients when the Medicaid payment portals were down. The organizations that are the backbone of our country, food pantries, vocational services, are looking at laying people off. Veterans might be getting evicted as their rent payments don't come through. There might not be someone on the other end of the phone at the National Suicide Hotline. Think about what that might mean to someone in crisis. I say again, this funding was sent by Congress to provide necessary services to our constituents in all states, red and blue alike. It is essential, and it has already been signed into law, passed by the United States House, passed on the floor of the United States Senate, and signed by a president. So this is what the American Revolution was all about. When the redcoats were coming down Massachusetts Avenue, heading towards Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts in 1775, the Minutemen and women were coming out, and they were all saying the same thing. No taxation without representation. The king would not give the American colonies any members of parliament. They kept begging for the ability to have representation. So after the American Revolution, and they wrote the Constitution, the first article is to create a House and Senate, and to give that first article the power of the purse, the power to spend money. They made it very clear that's what the revolution was about. So I say again, this funding was sent by Congress, Article 1, to provide necessary services to our constituents in all states. If the Trump administration claims this funding, quote, I'm quoting him, does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve, then there's just one question every American should be asking from the president. Who do you serve? Because it certainly isn't the everyday Americans who will wake up tomorrow without heat in their house, their medicine, or a roof over their head. The Trump administration said it's targeting, quote, the Green New Deal, social engineering. So when Trump says he wants to end the Green New Deal, he wants to end union battery manufacturing jobs in Ohio. He wants to end rebates that help American families afford new air conditioners and heaters. He wants to keep school districts from getting clean buses to take kids to school. He wants to end programs that help our communities rebuild after a disaster such as the fires in Los Angeles or the hurricanes that devastated Georgia and North Carolina. What Trump is doing with this so-called freeze, with his executive orders, with his firing of inspectors general and government regulators is an unconstitutional, illegal power grab. But here's the truth. Trump can't get rid of the Green New Deal because there is no stopping a mobilization and a movement once it is galvanized. The Green New Deal doesn't stop until the climate crisis stops. The Green New Deal doesn't stop until fossil fuel billionaires stop lining their pockets while our cities burn to the ground. I introduced the Green New Deal resolution nearly 6 years ago with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And its values of jobs and justice and climate action are now core parts of our economy and our society. Clearly, Trump's unelected bureaucrats are terrified of the power of union jobs, clean air and clean water, and climate action. They're trying to break our country's laws in order to break our movement. We cannot let him do that. We know we face an uphill battle with the climate denier in chief. He doesn't have a cabinet that he's appointed. He has a cartel that he is putting in place. You know the saying, money talks? Well, we heard the money talk loud and clear with Donald Trump's day one executive actions, which were a parade of price-gouging fossil fuel giveaways. His energy agenda isn't American dominance. It's the dominance of his donors over our energy policy. It's not all of the above. It's oil above all. Yes, drill, baby, drill, but kill solar, kill wind, kill all-electric vehicles, kill the green revolution, kill it. It's not all of the above. It's taking care of all of his fossil fuel donor buddies that he made a promise that if he won, he would kill the competition. He would kill the Darwinian, paranoia-inducing competition that is happening with wind and solar and all-electric vehicles and battery storage technologies and any technologies that reduce greenhouse gases, which are dangerously warming our planet. And why are they doing that? Because big oil and big gas is running scared. Fossil fuels have been getting outcompeted by wind and solar and all-electric vehicles. The big oil, big gas barons, they see people rejecting their products and having an alternative, and they want to choke out the competition. That's what the fossil fuel fat cats demanded when they got Donald Trump elected. And that's what Trump is delivering on with his orders to attack climate action, attack offshore wind, attack international climate agreements, and attack our movement, the Green New Deal movement of young people across our country demanding that this government do something about the threat of climate change that was ignored for generations. That's what young people are saying all across our country. Protect us. Protect us from the threat of climate change. And instead, what Donald Trump is trying to do is to kill all of the protections, all of them. So just think of what has been happening as the rest of the country is sitting around the table, the kitchen table, debating necessities to sacrifice this month. They're wondering if they can rebuild after a wildfire, or if they keep the lights on when prices spike as energy gets exported overseas. And I want everyone to understand this. He wants to export oil and export natural gas out of our country. That's his promise to the oil and gas barons. You know what that does domestically? It increases the prices for everyone here. Consumers, businesses, they have to pay more because there's less oil and gas here. Fueling inflation. Yeah, that's the plan. Increase the profit for the big fossil fuel plan. So we can't allow Trump and Republicans to throw families into financial instability just to pay for tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy. Just like climate change won't be solved by any one president, climate action won't be stopped by any one president. Look at what has happened in the past week. This isn't business as usual, and we have to stop acting like it. And that's why I won't be supporting any Trump nominee who will only do his illegal bidding. And I urge all of my colleagues to join me in rejecting those who will reject the will of Congress and reject the needs of the American people. From day one, Donald Trump has been singularly committed to abandoning working people, their future, our very democracy, all for the power of wealth. That is absolutely unacceptable. Donald Trump isn't just ignoring the promise to lower costs for families and make our nation safer. He is inflicting harm on millions of Americans, taking away funding for critical life-saving health research from cancer and Alzheimer's. The potential ramifications of Trump's federal funding freeze are endless. Trump is trying to bully the American people and public servants into submission by ignoring the law and cutting off funding to take away the services the public needs to get by. This is what dictators do. He wants us to forget what he stands for us to either give up, either slowly or all at once. We cannot do that. We must stand up. So whether it's racial justice, the rule of law, reproductive freedom, economic equality, immigrant and refugee rights, our LGBTQ community, universal health care, consumer protections, protecting clean air and water, creating union jobs, and supporting our union workers, fighting the climate crisis, holding the fat cats accountable for their greed and corruption. More than ever, we must be the fearless voice for a livable future. That is my pledge to you. It is time to be brave. It is time to stand up for the protection of the most vulnerable in our country and our vulnerable planet. He's trying to frighten people. He's trying to scare people. That is what his agenda has been right from the beginning. And even when his henchman puts out that first statement in terms of the freeze, the cutoff of funding on Monday night, what does he attribute it to? They want to root out Marxism in our country. They want to protect against transgender people. And they want to kill the Green New Deal. That's what he puts out on the first night. Well, just so everyone understands, when Republicans are talking about Marxism, they're talking about Social Security. They're talking about Medicare. They're talking about Medicaid. They're talking about public education. That's what they call Marxism, just so everyone understands. They're going to need hundreds of billions of dollars and more in order to have tax rates for the billionaire boys club that was sitting right behind the president at the swearing in. He promised them tax breaks. Where's the money going to come from? I'll tell you where it's going to come from the programs that they call the Marxist programs. Those are all the healthcare programs. Those are all the education programs. He has nominated a Secretary of Education who has had to promise to try to end the Department of Education in our country. End it. They need money for billionaires. Title I in the Department of Education. Title I, that's for the poor children in America to get an education. Money in there for the kids with disabilities. And the Department of Education, yeah, Marxists, get that money into the hands of billionaires and millionaires. Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, Medicare, the three programs provide help for 170 million Americans to get the health care, which they need. 170 million Americans. But that's where the money is, health care. You have to call it Marxist. You have to try to demonize it. That's because they have to pay back all of those people who gave them the money in order to win in November. And he then moves on to transgender kids, trying to demonize them. And we know why he does that, just trying to scare people. It's part of who he is. And then the third part of what he mentioned on Monday night was the Green New Deal. And the Green New Deal is the ultimate payback, because the president met with the oil and gas executives in April of 2024, and he said to them, if you give me $1 billion, I'll kill all of the renewable energy projects in America. I'll take all the money away. They gave him the money, and now they're going to get paid back. So when they say Green New Deal, and they want to kill it, just understand, they want to kill all the competition to the oil and gas industry. The natural gas industry wants all of offshore wind all along the East Coast to just be destroyed, because those 30,000 new megawatts, they would obsolete the need for more natural gas pipelines to be built along the East Coast. And he wants to take care of the natural gas boys. That's what it's all about. When he says he's going to roll back electric vehicles, roll back fuel economy standards for the vehicles we drive, he's doing that for the oil industry. We put 70% of the oil which we consume in our country into gasoline tanks. The more people drive electric vehicles, the higher the fuel economy standards, less oil people have to consume, less money in the pockets of the oil barons, but more money in the pockets of consumers. So that's what this fight's all about. It's pretty simple, and I'm glad they put it up there on Monday night for what this battle's about, because I know it's going to create a movement across this country in the same way that the Green New Deal created a movement that created the momentum that made it possible for us to pass the IRA in 2022. But another way of saying IRA is the largest climate bill in the history of the world. That's what's scaring, totally scaring the oil and gas industry, because they can see they're losing in the marketplace. They can see that's where Americans are moving. So I'll just conclude with this one brief history lesson. Back in 2009, when Joe Biden was sworn in as vice president, we had 2,000 total all-electric vehicles in the United States. That's all. We had 2,000 total megawatts of solar in the United States. You know what's frightening to the oil and gas industry? Last year, 40,000 new megawatts of solar in 1 year. Frightening to them. All-electric vehicle revolution, millions have been purchased just in the last 2 years. The oil industry is petrified because we've gone from 2,000 megawatts of solar total in the whole history of our country, 2,000 all-electric vehicles, to a revolution. And they want to stop this revolution. That's what Trump is all about, the payback to big industries that want to thwart Americans from playing a role in being the leader in the world on all of these green energy and climate issues, and then saying to the rest of the world, we will partner with you to solve this problem. But you cannot preach temperance from a bar stool. You cannot tell the rest of the world to stop if you're not doing it yourself. You lose all credibility, which is why Trump just pulled totally out of the Paris Climate Agreement at the same time. Doesn't want to be part of the world, but that's not how greenhouse gases travel. They travel with the clouds. They travel all over the world, and unless we lead, we're going to pay a tremendous price in subsequent generations to what Donald Trump is trying to perpetrate on our country. So I yield back, Mr. President, and I thank you for your indulgence, and I thank the senator from Delaware for your indulgence as well. Thank you.
President.
Senator from Delaware.